what that role contains. So now when you think about it in that way, you can do this today. Every one of you can go home and work on your org chart. When you think that way, now when you meet people, you're not thinking, oh, I like that person, we get along well, oh, they're funny. You're thinking, which spot do they fit? Because now you're not trying to find a person and trying to fit into the organization. You have an organization and you're trying to fill each of those spots. So that's really, really helpful for me, was to build up the org chart. Number two, you have to have somebody leading, obviously like a leader. And that can get a little weird with partnerships, like, well, we're all doing this together, how are you the leader? But I mean, maybe you guys probably understand it better than everyone. You just can't have multiple leaders, it just doesn't work. You have to have somebody to say which way we're going. So I think this group, probably more than any other group I've ever talked to, would understand that concept. And then third is manage everyone inside of a system. We use EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, from Book Traction. Yeah, anybody EOS people in here?
Big time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, love EOS, game changer for us. We hired a consultant, it's expensive, it's $40-$50 a year. Worth every penny to make sure we're doing it right, doing it perfectly. What EOS does in any of those organizational systems, but they just make sure that everyone's rowing in the same direction and that everyone's accountable to the actions that they have to do. A lot of that habit tracking stuff actually came from EOS. I just took a business principle and said, how do we do this in our personal life? So anyway, adding all that together, great people. And then last point is date, don't marry right away. This is a huge mistake I made early on. It was like, I don't tell the story often, like this piece I left out of the story earlier because it wasn't really important, but I had it here. When I said I brought it to Ryan, the plan to Ryan, I said, Ryan, this is the plan. He said, I want to be a part of that. There was a third guy sitting in that room. His name was Lance. Super nice guy. I love Lance. Lance is great. He said, I want to be part of it too. I said, great, let's go. Third. We're partners for life, let's go. And then within a month, we realized Lance didn't, like he was doing 100 wholesale a year. He was a single family guy. He wasn't the right fit, wasn't the right anything. But I had already agreed that we're third. And then it was like hell to claw back equity. And it was awful to try to like separate a partnership. What I should have said is, let's do a deal, right? And then it's like, we dated. And then let's do another deal. And then maybe 2 or 3 4 deals down the road, we're like, hey, let's form something. But I've done that mistake over and over in every business I think I've ever done. And finally getting into my thick skull, date before you marry.
So getting granularity in your vision, I think, is kind of what you're talking about.
That's the leadership thing. This is where we're going.
Yeah, because then otherwise the vision is just kind of in the ego.
Yes. Oh, great tool for that, by the way. I just did this a couple weeks ago with a group of people at a mastermind, and it was phenomenal. We were doing a vivid vision exercise. And so instead of just trying to write out a newspaper article in the future, I just wrote down bullet points of what would be cool. So I wrote it on my page, what would be cool, and I typed out this would be cool. And I was doing it for a different company of mine, but I said, this would be cool, this many people, this much money, and this is how much I'm working, and this is what people think of us, and this is our culture. I spent maybe half hour just writing down 20 bullet points. I went to ChatGPT, and I said, I want you to create a vivid vision based on the work of Cameron Harold. And here's the bullet points I want you to include. I want you to make this a newspaper article dated 3 years in the future. Go. And it wrote out the most beautiful newspaper article in the future that perfectly incorporated all my bullet points. And then I read it out loud and I was crying. I was like, this is where I'm going. And everybody I read it to was like, oh, I see it. Because they can't see what's in our brain. We're just trying to communicate little bullet points to people. Anyway, ChatGPT, great way to communicate vision.
One in the center area.
Hey Brandon, awesome. With everything you've learned, you're 20 years old. Where did you start?
Yeah, I was 20 years old. Oh, such a good question. First of all, I was 20 when I started, so you're in a good spot. People who are young often think that their age is the biggest limitation that they have. It's actually the best asset you have, by far the biggest asset. Every old person, and I mean maybe over 30, so every old person, we love the young people. We love to get, especially you get the really old guys that are 40.
Where's Prescott?
I'm 59 still, so I can say that. All the 40-year-olds, no. The old dudes who've been in real estate forever, their kids don't care about real estate, their family doesn't care, they've been doing it by themselves, they don't even know what Bigger Pockets is. They didn't know, they're alone for 50 years of their life, and all of a sudden a young whippersnapper, 20-year-old comes in, and they're like, that's my boy. And they will sell you deals, and they will give you deals, and they will mentor you, and they'll do everything for you in the world. Your age is your biggest asset, lean into that hard. And so the number one thing I would do in that case is I would just try to find as many of those people that you want to be like, and not just in real estate, but like look at their life. Say, do I want their life someday? And then just get in their world. Don't let them go. Just get in their world, do what you can. Like, go pick up their Home Depot order for them if they need that, or watch their kid, like, take their dog for a walk. Do anything you can to be in their world, and they will pour into you. I got a buddy named Art. He's in a group called the 50. It's like really expensive, and that's for like millionaires and all that. So Art is 24 years old though. He's got $55 million of real estate at 24 years old. His whole entire strategy is just to find old people and they seller finance the deals to him, like, because they just like him. He's super energetic and excited, and like he'll get like a bank loan for like 80% of it, and then 20% seller financing. He'll get it for no money down, and he'll own these massive assets. And it's all I think all because of his age, and he's just wicked smart. So gain intelligence. Intelligence, they can't take that from you. Your hustle, they can't take that from you. Like, you don't need money if you've got intelligence and hustle. You figure it out. So you can do that when you're 20, and you find the old guys, and everybody in the whole department. I have a kid I sold a deal to a few years ago, and that kid, he was probably like 25. But I'd known him, I was his youth pastor at church when I was like in my 20s, and he was like a little kid. But I was like, I knew him from that. Anyway, I had a 5-plex that I owned, and he was like, hey, will you sell it to me? And I was like, sure. So I sold it to him for no money down, seller financing with like a 30-year mortgage, just because I liked him. There was no other reason. I didn't need to do that. I could have put on the market, got more for it. I just liked the kid. I wanted him to succeed. Now he's got 40-something units across that town right now. He's killing it. I love to see. He refinanced me out a little bit later. I got all the money and I put it into something else. But yeah, use your age. Huge asset. Great question.
I see Cindy. Oh, I'm sorry. Adam, yeah, there was one right there. Sorry, Cindy. We'll get you. First of all, before Mercedes, this guy's a marketer.
Oh yeah. My question kind of relates to what I asked you a few weeks ago at Limitless.
Yep.
I asked you what your why was, and if you guys didn't see that, go see it. And Realty Co. on IG, but he explained what his why is, which is beautiful. So now, kind of, you did touch on it a little bit, but finding that what kind of advice, right, would you, because we have the why, which is kind of the fuel, but the what is more the direction of where that fuel's taking us. So like in my personal case, I fight between the left side of my brain and the right side of my brain, what my heart wants to do on the creative side, but also what I know I'm very skilled at logistically, numerically, analytically. So when it comes down to finding that what, and really what you should be shining in, what would you suggest? I know there's mentors, there's a lot of coaches out there. A lot of them don't point you in where your full, true potential could be achieved. Do you have any suggestions for us?
Yeah, a few thoughts there. It's a good question. One, you've heard this metaphor before, but I'll say it again, is when a plane takes off from New York going to LA, not a straight shot. It's 1,000 microequipment corrections along the way, right? Wind blows and it moves this way, and it's constantly correcting. Now, if it didn't know it was trying to get to LA, it couldn't make those little corrections. And so, a big piece of the what is just, it's not so like, even like LA, I don't know what that looks like, but I know I want to go south, and I know I want to go south, but I don't want to go west. Well, let's just go southwest direction. And so, for example, like I got into mobile home parks. I picked them, I went all in. But I did find after a couple of years that we can scale beyond that. I couldn't buy enough of it. Like I could raise way more capital than what I could do. So we're like, okay, well, let's pivot, let's shift a little bit, let's add on multifamily. And then let's add on something else. And then I'm like, I don't really like this part, so let's take that back, let's try this thing. So a lot of it is the course correction along the way. Mm-hmm. And kind of the barometer I use is just like, how much am I enjoying this? Like not the money, but how much do I enjoy the work? Steve Jobs, I think has a great quote. He said, like, when I look in the mirror too many days in a row and I don't like what I'm seeing, I have to change something. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when I look too many days in a row, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like then I'm like, okay, I need to change something. And I try to leave money completely out of it as much as possible. So that's not affecting the what. So yeah, that's a big piece of it. Also, I'm very careful not to let, and I say get around mentors, right, when you're young, but I'm very careful not to let mentors tell me the what. Because if, I had a mentor, like the guy that when I was 20, I met a landlord and I became his guy and I did everything for him. I learned a ton of stuff. It was a great partnership and friendship. When I told him 10 years later, I said, I'm going to buy mobile home parks. He goes, don't do it, it's stupid. Mobile home parks are terrible. Don't buy mobile home parks. You'll hate it, you'll regret it. It's awful. I'm like, oh, whoa, really? He's a cat. Really bad business model. Okay. And then I didn't listen to him. because I knew one thing: he didn't own a mobile home park, never had. So mentors and smart people and gurus and influencers will all tell you their thing is the best. Their thing is the thing you do. But everyone's just giving advice from their own lens. So I'm very careful not to take what anybody else says as truth. People, there's a million agendas for stuff on why people say they do one thing versus another. So I love that you guys have both residential and commercial. You're not like, there's one way to invest, it's sub 2. You gotta do that. It's like, well, it's more than that. Yeah, there's some nuance to it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but a couple thoughts on the one. And I think the last thing I'll say is like, is it cool? And it's more important that aside than what aside.
Sweet, thanks.
I think we got one more. Cindy, I know you had your hand up. Cindy. Cindy's at Hawaii.
Woo!
I don't know. There's actually a lot of Hawaii here. If you're from Hawaii,
Yeah, who's Hawaii?
Okay, so this has a little bit of a personal touch to it, but I feel like it'd be applicable overall. So at the beginning of the year, when we attended your goal setting course or whatever it was, which we were chilling on the Big Island actually, you had said that Tim Tebow once said to you, "I never want to get to heaven well rested." So that really hit home, and I love that. Like, I'm all about out to make an impact, but this past year has been kind of rough, like with some grief, and actually, we're 5.5 years into this, and recently this year experienced my first betrayal within, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've gotten past the dip, but all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm in a rut. Like I'm letting off the accelerator a little bit, and I feel like I'm masking it with an excuse that sounds good, but I know that I'm not really living to my full potential. So my question is, have you ever experienced being in a rut, and how did you get out of it? And then secondly, because I know that my circle is a big part of who I am and what I'm doing, how do you make sure you're in the right rooms, and also taking that next step and ensuring you're one of the dumbest too?
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. That was a little loaded.
Yeah, there's a few things there, but I love all that. 100%. This has been the hardest year of my real estate investing, period. In 20 years, this has been the hardest year for a lot of reasons. So I feel exactly what you feel, maybe in different situations. I'm sure, but it's been a hard year. I mean, our insurance on some of our properties went up by 3x. Now, when you're talking about big apartment complexes, you're talking $1 million added insurance a year at a 5 cap, which is whatever that, I don't know what the number is, huge, $20 million, something like that, of lost value overnight. And when you have 2,000, 2,500 investors who are hell, it's why deposit distributions, it's insurance. They don't care if it's insurance. They don't care if taxes went up. They care that they're not getting their money back the way that they wanted it. And then they start posting on social, they start calling, and then I just start spiraling. It's this sucks, I don't like it. Depression's probably not too strong of a word for what I've gone through a lot this year, to be real. A couple thoughts of how I've tried to get through this. One, I get renewed every time I read my vision, really nailed down the vision. So I'm where am I headed here? What are we trying to do? And more importantly, why are we trying to do it? To go to the why. Okay, great, I wanted $10 million in real estate. Why? Well, it was a cool number. Maybe I need to rethink that a little bit more. And so we've been talking a lot about where we head. I don't have all the answers yet. I don't know where the capital is going to end up. We're going to stick with mobile home parks. Do we shift? Do we pause? Do we go bigger? I don't know all the answers yet. But I know that when I just do it and I just feel sorry for myself, I tend to just feel worse and worse and worse. And the way I usually get out of it is by just getting in a room like this, honestly. When I go to a real estate event, and I start talking to other people, and I find out they're going through hell too, I'm oh, we're all going through this together. That's one reason I like abundance. It's a lot of stuff. It's real. There's vulnerability. Yeah, vulnerability.
I keep saying, get vulnerable at this table work, because it's not like this on the outside. You're going to go back to the real world tomorrow.
Yeah, very much. And then a lot of it just comes down to perspective. I try to, and my wife helps with this a lot, because I used to be real bummed out. I come home from work, I just had a rough day, or just got bad news or something. I'll tell this story. It's going to sound a little braggy, but it was a true story that happened yesterday. I come home from the day, and it was just a hard day. I had a long 4-hour meeting with Open Capital. There was a lot of bad news of just stuff just not going the way I wanted to, and I yelled at my team more than I wanted to. I'm really a nice guy, but I got a little aggressive on that call, and I felt bad about that. And I come home and tell my wife, I'm just look, I'm just, when you're depressed or down, you just look like stupid. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm this sucks, this is bad. And I'm yeah, the only positive is we're selling a property, we should get $1 million next month. And then I go on, and she's wait, what? And I'm yeah, one of our big portfolios is selling in Colorado. I should clear a little over $1 million personally. Yeah, we're gonna get a 40% IRR, 30% IRR for investors. And I go back onto the negative. She's wait, what the hell? You just told me in the middle of a complaining session that you made $1 million on one deal. I'm yeah, and all this stuff. So anyway, it was my wife had to pull that out of me, and then be no, let's not move past that. We need to celebrate that. Now it hasn't closed yet, so we'll see, but it's looking like it's going to be just a home run. And but in the moment, it was weird that she called me out on that, because I was it never occurred to me to be happy about that. Because I was just looking at the negatives. So it's repositioning my perspective and going, oh, there are good things. And my education company is doing really, really good. And my kids are doing so good right now. We built a little homeschool thing in my basement with my neighbor kids. And it's that is going amazing. So reminding myself of all that. In other words, where I'm getting to kind of summarize that. And you remember this from the goal setting retreat. We always start the goal setting. By the way, you should all come. We do a goal setting fundraiser every year in January. I think last year we charged $30. We'll probably charge $100. All the money goes to the Tim Foundation. Any profits we make on it. But we just do goals. And the way we start the goal setting is gratitude. Because if you're not in a position of just immense gratitude, then you tend to make decisions out of fear. The opposite of gratitude is fear. I always heard, I can't remember, Tony Robbins or somebody said that, but it's very real for me. It's hard to be afraid when I'm grateful. I'm just really grateful. And so I did a practice one time where it was kind of a meditative thing where there was a speaker talking, it was at some conference, you had to close your eyes, and you just think of that future self and all the things of where you're headed. And then you think of who's in your life right now, why you love them, what's there. We do this in breath work sometimes, and it's just such you just fill your soul with so much gratitude. You walk out of there and no one's impressed. It's just oh, I gotta let some people go. So I know that was a long roundabout answer of how I try to overcome that. Again, I'm in it all the time. But there's good days and bad days. It's that's entrepreneurial bipolarism, they say. It's just the entrepreneur's curse. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we all get that way.
But I think when Tim Kelly was doing his presentation earlier, he had some books up, right? You had some books up as well. And the gap in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You got to read that. You got to read that every single year. I read it once, and then I took it 2 years off. And in those 2 years, I noticed the dip, And then you read it again, and you're you got to start celebrating the wins. And it's so easy to just crush your soul all the time. I can make $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million. It's gonna be okay. And then
you can get a babysitter, right?
I might be able to afford a babysitter. Yeah. By the way, the last piece of that I'll say is I also just one time I was swimming in a triathlon. I was the swimming part of it. It was a relay, so I had to swim. So I was ran. And I got way off course, and I was miserable and tired and exhausted. And I was I can't finish this. I wanted to give up and raise my hand and get on the kayak and go back to the beach. But I just told myself, just focus on the arm, breath. Literally, arm, breath, arm, breath. And I just focus on the arm, breath, arm, breath, arm, breath. And all of a sudden I hit the land. I was oh, shoot, I made it. I'm done. And so it's easy to we zoom way out and look macro of all the things wrong in our life and all the problems, whatever. And I just remind myself, what's my arm, breath? And that is my habit tracker. It's did I read my Bible? Did I read 10 pages in a business book? Did I hang out with my kids today? And as long as I'm doing those things and altering them to make sure that they're improving my life, that's going to be better. And the last part about just getting in the rooms. The answer nobody likes to hear is you just got to pay for it. That's why I paid $60,000 to be part of this. It's called boardroom. I know I'm going to make more than that. On average, one tip. We're in real estate, right? One property. Let's say you buy a property today for $200,000. It makes you no cash flow whatsoever. Zero cash flow. You bought in the bad area, it never goes up in value. 30 years from today, it's worth $200,000. Same price you paid for it. Oh. And you had no tax benefits because for whatever reason they just didn't work. You didn't get them. What a stupid decision. And 30 years from now, you will have $200,000 in value. right? Like, real estate's the easiest way to make money in the world. You can screw up everything. As long as you can hold on, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. But we all know that's reality isn't that. You buy for 200, it's worth $1 million 30 years from now. You owe nothing on it. In other words, every deal is making you $1 million that you buy. So you don't think that, getting in a room where you got to pay whatever, 20 grand to be in a room where you're going to be part of a program, or 30 grand. I don't know, what's the
well, it's 10 normally, but we had it marked down to 6,500 just for being here.
Stuff like that. It's like, will you not learn one thing throughout a given year that'll make you $6,500 over your entire life? Like, of the knowledge that you gain? It's like silly. So I just pay now, like I generally pay at least 100 grand a year right now, just for education stuff, getting in the rooms, paying for the higher VIP stuff, knowing that I just meet one person. I can meet 9 people in a row that don't change my life. One person though makes me $1 million to be part of it. That's all I got.
All right, that's all we have for questions, guys. Give Brandon one more big.